Justice Migori Governor Obado will know his fate today when the court rules on whether he will remain in custody for more days to allow police complete investigations. The embattled governor, who was arrested on Wednesday after 8 firearms were found in his Nairobi and Migori homes, was arraigned before Kibra Chief Magistrate Joyce Gandani over possession of firearms and ammunition. Now, the prosecution applied to have him detained for 15 days to allow further investigations, a request which was opposed by the defense team. Rita Tinina with the details.
After spending a night in police custody, embattled Migori Governor Obado was first taken to the Milimani Law Courts early Thursday morning before he was moved to the Kibera Law Courts. Obado was arrested after 8 guns were found in his homes, 5 at his Nairobi home and 3 at his rural home in Rapogi. It is the 3 guns found in Rapogi that the prosecution says do not have a valid certificate.
Then upon the respondent being questioned on the status of the weapons, he did not give any satisfactory account of how he came into possession of the said firearms and ammunitions.
Before Kibera Chief Magistrate Joyce Gandani, the prosecution team led by Catherine Moneki requested to have him detained for 15 days.
To allow the investigating officers to travel back to the rural home to conduct further and thorough investigations.
The prosecution told the court that scene of crime and ballistic experts will need to visit Obado's homes and an analysis of mobile data and firearms licensing records carried out to establish who holds the license for the 3 firearms and whether they are linked to any crime.
Your Honor, we pray that the continued detention orders be given so that the respondent may not interfere with the ongoing investigations.
The defense team opposed the application, arguing that the 3 guns, one of them a Seska pistol, were not found in Obado's main house.
Those 3 were found in the house for his guards. That guard house is in the exclusive possession, operation and management of the security details provided to him by the Kenya National Police.
Obado's lawyers told the court that the governor has not set foot in his Rapogi home for over 2 months, of which the last 3 weeks have been in line with bail terms issued in the criminal case facing him over the murder of university student Sharon Otieno.
So that any allegation by the prosecution that they would need to visit that home for purposes of conducting investigation, and they are apprehensive that he may interfere, is completely misplaced.
His lawyers argue that his presence is not required during the investigations that will be carried out.
They tell you that they want to check the firearms data. The respondent does not work in the Firearms Bureau, he does not hold the data, so therefore they do not need him. They want to check the system, whether the said firearms have been involved in any crime. He does not keep the system, he does not work with the system. So why do they need him again? They want to arrest crucial suspects. So he's not a police officer, he does not arrest people. Why do they need him? They want mobile data. He does not work with Safaricom, Airtel, or any other data provider. Why do they need him? Because they have his number, they have his phone, they don't need him.
Obado surrendered his firearm, ammunition and firearm license to the police on Wednesday evening. The governor, who spent more than a month in remand in connection with the murder of Sharon Otieno, will be hoping to be granted bail during the ruling set for Friday. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
All right, Migori governor has once again found himself on the wrong side of the law today. He will know whether he'll be released on bail or not. And so right now I'd like us to talk to our reporter Timothy Otieno, who's joining us from a city center studio, just to tell us what we expect to transpire today along the corridors of justice. Timothy, good morning. And if you can hear me, kindly bring us up to date with what you expect to transpire along the corridors of justice at the Kibera Law Courts when Migori governor will be appearing before the magistrate. Timothy, good morning. If you can hear me, kindly bring us up to date with what
Definitely,
we
Brenda. 11:30 is the time that was set by Chief Magistrate Joyce Gandani for the determination of this particular mini hearing, so to speak. Governor Okoth Obado appearing before the Chief Magistrate's Court at the Kibera Law Courts in Nairobi about 1.5 hours from now. And Brenda, 3 possible outcomes could come out of today's proceedings at the corridors of justice. One of them is that perhaps Governor Okoth Obado may be lucky and may be freed on either a cash bail or a bond or both. That is if the defense team has its way. The second option is he could be detained for the 15 days that the prosecution is requesting for. The prosecution side, led by Catherine Mwaniki, did say they need more time to investigate, get those ballistic tests, get his phone records, get to find out whether indeed he was licensed to hold 3 of the 8 firearms that were found out in his homes. So perhaps he could also then be detained for 15 days. That's one of the options. The third and final option is that perhaps the court may decide to assert itself on this matter and give a directive that had not been requested by either side. This could mean that perhaps the court would say they detain him until Monday, or the court may decide to give the prosecution not the requested 15 days, but a shorter time period. Hopefully, perhaps maybe they say half the number, let's say 7 days for the prosecution to conduct its activities. So it's either he'll be detained, he may be released, or the court may decide to either detain him temporarily in a short-term period rather than that which has been requested by the prosecution side. Nonetheless, Governor Okoth Obado spent his 3rd night behind bars. He was at the Gigiri police cells for the 3rd straight night following this particular case that has dogged him after 8 firearms were found at his various homes in Nairobi and in Rapogi in Migori County. 8 firearms in total, 5 found in Nairobi, but 3 that were located, that were recovered in his Rapogi home in Migori County are the ones that he is facing fire over. His lawyers, of course, exuding confidence that the prosecution need not argue that Obado be held any further. He has submitted the licenses for 5 out of the 8 guns to the police investigators, and his lawyers say when and if he'll be called upon to appear for any reason whatsoever, then he will be able to do so with ease. Of course, his main defense has been, and the governor himself has been saying that some of the guns that were found, especially those found in his rural home, he says were planted by the officers of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission who did conduct a raid at his house on Wednesday evening. He says that according to accounts from his bodyguard, who was there in Rapogi, they say they believe that one of the EACC investigators may have planted that gun. Remember, Governor Okoth Obado is not allowed to go anywhere near Homa Bay County. 20 kilometers is what the courts directed last month when he was released following the case touching on the death of university student Sharon Otieno. So according to that directive, he was not allowed anywhere near Homa Bay County. And just based on that, the governor says he's not visited his ancestral home for nearly 2 months now, but only depends on the accounts of his bodyguards. So we wait to see what happens this mid-morning, even as all eyes will be shifting to Joyce Gandani, who may either decide to release him, detain him, or release him with conditions. Brenda.
Timothy, and I understand that Migori Governor Okoth Obado did not apply to be released on bail, but he was requesting the court to release him. And his defense team argument was that some of the guns that were found in Obado's home, especially the 3 guns that were found, didn't belong to Migori Governor Okoth Obado, but they were for his security team. Will the court put that into consideration when it will be looking at granting Obado his request to be released today as investigations continue?
Come again, Brenda.
Timothy, if you can hear me, I'm saying that I understand that Migori Governor Obado didn't apply to be released on bail, but rather he requested the court to release him as investigations continue. And one of the arguments that his defense team, especially his lead counsel Cliff Ombete, gave the court is that some of the guns that were found in his home, especially the 3 guns, didn't belong to the governor, but rather it belonged to his security team. Will the court put that into consideration? All right, we seem to be having a technical hitch.
Well, that's most likely one of the things that the court will be putting into consideration, considering that the fact that he has licenses for 5 of the 8 guns that were found in his various homes in Nairobi and in Rapogi. But remember, this is a county boss, so he has bodyguards, and these bodyguards are licensed to hold firearms as part of their duty to protect the governor. So the main concern for the court will be to link these particular firearms to see whether they are indeed registered with the security detail of the governor. And that's the bone of contention, because the bodyguards say, according to the affidavit that was filed by the governor himself in court yesterday, the bodyguards say there was a guard room where they saw an officer from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission leave with what appeared to be a metal suitcase that was later found out to have 3 of the guns. So according to Obado, they insist, their argument still remains that these guns were planted there by officials from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, even though they did not provide any tangible evidence in that regard in court yesterday. But remember, these guns are supposed to be investigated. They're supposed to undergo ballistic tests, because the prosecution are fronting this idea that the guns that have not been registered with Governor Obado may have committed various crimes, and they're trying to see if they can link the ballistic tests to these particular guns and whether these guns are indeed registered to either the governor himself or his security details. So that will come at the forefront this mid-morning, as the chief magistrate will be seeking to find out whether indeed she will detain or release Governor Obado. But remember, the defense has been arguing that there has to be sufficient evidence to allow Governor Obado his freedom. There has to be compelling, undoubtable evidence that may warrant him remain in custody over the weekend so that these tests can be conducted. And according to his defense, he need not be held in custody, as he has done all that has been required to do so according to the law and as requested by the prosecution and the investigators in this particular case. But Brenda, you're right. One of linking those 3 firearms in his Rapogi home could play a key role in determining whether the governor is released this morning or whether he'll spend the weekend in custody.
Timothy, and lastly, some people are looking at this as political fights that, owing to the fact that the governor has somehow changed his tune to supporting the Deputy President, William Ruto, because his arrest comes days after he was seen accompanying Deputy President William Ruto to various functions, including hosting him in Migori County.
Well, of course, there's always that politics surrounding the legal matter here in court. Of course, Governor Obado was seen with the Deputy President, as you put it, just a few days ago when the Deputy President toured his county. And their relationship, at least in the public eye, looked to be very cordial. They looked to be very friendly towards each other. And remember, Obado, just the genesis of his leadership in the Migori County race has been he did not get into the leadership of that county through an ODM ticket. So he was first of all an independent and then vied with the political party that allowed him and won him that particular ticket. So the politics surrounding this particular case may be there, albeit not so profound. It's not so much in the forefront. We did not hear any pronouncements from the deputy governor in regards to the cases that have bedeviled the Migori governor when the deputy president visited Migori County a few days ago. But this could also be because of the fact that when the ruling was made last month to release him, one of the court directives was that the governor was not to in any way talk about the case before him, and that was the case that is surrounding the death of Sharon Otieno. The court directed he not talk about it any further until the trial is over and a ruling has been made. So perhaps just because of that, then we may not hear a lot of political rhetoric surrounding some of the issues bedeviling the governor. We have not seen any statements either to support, to defend him, or to rebuke or criticize him from any of the political parties or any of the political leaders in Migori County and even here in Nairobi. And of course his lawyers insisting the governor is innocent. So we wait to see how this plays out. Even though politics may be there, but Brenda, it's highly unlikely that we'll be seeing a lot of political rhetoric, especially surrounding some of these cases. Firstly, because of the fact that the court itself directs that no politics be played, especially in these cases, especially because of the reason of sub judice. And secondly, because some political parties and in politics generally, people like to distance themselves from people who are undergoing either investigations of corruption or criminal matters. Brenda.
All right, thank you so much, Timothy Otieno, for that detailed update of what we expect when it comes to that case against Migori Governor Obado, who's once again found himself on the wrong side of the law. Of course, Timothy will be following up on that story and will be giving us live updates. But just to make it clear for you, our viewers, it is that Migori Governor Obado was arrested on Tuesday and arraigned in court on Wednesday and arraigned in court. And of course, so far, he has requested the court to release him until investigations are complete. But should he be charged in court today, then Migori Governor will have the freedom also to apply for his release on bail terms. But so far, as we speak now, he has not applied to be released on bail, but rather he has requested the court to release him until investigations are done. But should the prosecution decide